current affairs yesterday for your D3, it is boys group. Are you reading articles regularly? Okay, given in current affairs. Okay, going through the questions also. Okay, if you can write answers at least one or two questions, it could be very easy for you. I would like to share one kind of orientation there with respect to KPIB, that is related to August 8th question. Describe the factors that led to. Here the question is about describe factors that led to the unrest in Manipur. Unrest in Manipur. First, next, suggest some steps to be taken to address all stakeholders. Address all stakeholders. Issues, restore peace and harmony in the Northeast region. And restore peace and harmony in Northeast region. Directly don't jump into the answer, that model answer written there. Try to brainstorm yourself first. Don't read answer now. So describe the factors that lead to the unrest in Manipur and suggest some steps to be taken to address all stakeholders and restore peace and harmony in the Northeast region. This is the question there. So before start writing a question, you need to have three elements, that is three steps, that is decoding of the question, that question. It has how many parts? It has factors, that is keyword 1. Next, suggest measures, that is keyword 2. So, question has two parts. Okay, factors and measures. But you would like to write factors and measures in which direction? This is directive word. This is directive word. Describe the factors that led to the unrest in Manipur. This is a directive word. So describe means a kind of explain, and elaborate is also explain only in detail, but it requires more valid arguments and substantiation if you read the directive word, that is elaborate. So describe means you need to explain the incidental aspect with respect to the Manipur incident. Next, this is about directive word, the second one is. Okay. So this kind of decoding, that is how many parts, and one more thing, any underlying elements within it. For example, in the second part of the question, if you see, if you don't mention that restore peace and harmony in the Northeast region in the question itself, the second part of the question has an underlying element of restoration of peace and harmony as part of measures or steps to be taken to address the Manipur issue, isn't it? So I cannot consider it as third part, but I have to address it little more elaborately. Now if you go through the main model answer, you will see little more elaboration related to restoration of peace and harmony after addressing this second part of the question. If you go through this model answer now. You can see model answer after this explanation. In our model answer, and second part, and this is about decoding question now, and the second aspect is relevance part. Okay. Here, your answer should have a thematic relevance. Thematic relevance. What? Theme is the core essence of the question. Theme is core essence. What is the core essence of the question is here? Yeah, Manipur issue and also issues of peace in the Northeast region. Okay, fine. Suppose if I ask a question about bad banks, what is its role? And the bad banks have failed to address the issues of NPA. This was a question. But most of the aspirants started defining NPAs, non-performing assets, first. And later they have mentioned about different types of NPAs and measures to address NPAs. Out of these measures, bad bank is one of the measures. That was their answer. And later they came to address the issues of bad banks and how they failed to address this problem, menace of NPAs. So it is almost beating around the bush. There is no need of writing NPAs there. The issue is about bad banks. So 99% of the aspirants have to address the bad banks in the introduction itself to develop a coherent connectivity from introduction to body. That is very good and apt and exact and concise expression. For example, if I ask you about sculpture aspect of any question, if you write architecture related example, that will have content irrelevance. Suppose I have asked a question regarding IDC sculpture and most of the aspirants gave an example of Great Bath in the answer. So that was also one of the blunder mistakes, that has no relevance with respect to the content that was asked in the actual question. So such a thematic address. Theme means the core demand of the question. In the introduction part, in the conclusion part, in the introduction, conclusion, also in the content aspect. So relevance has 4 aspects: introduction, thematic, conclusion should be thematic, and third aspect is content should be thematic. That is, it should exactly express what is demanded for the question. If I ask you about your native place, so you are describing yourself first. Is it having any coherent connection between the question and the answer that you are saying? Right? There is no connection. So you are only confined to native place that is asked. You don't need to describe about yourself. I did not ask about yourself, isn't it? So that kind of a thin line of difference must be known to you. This is about a thematic understanding of the question. And fourth aspect is, after introduction, conclusion, content, fourth aspect is your bureaucratic relevance, your attitudinal relevance. Suppose, while addressing the issue of Manipur in the introduction itself, if you start scolding the government, or if you are taking a stand on behalf of any of the communities, you won't be having any bureaucratic relevance there, isn't it? Suppose, if I scold the existing government in dealing with such a kind of genocidal aspects within that region, and their inability and inefficiency in addressing the issues in Manipur, if you directly jump into such a conclusion, you won't be having an approach of non-partisanship, impartiality, objectivity, and impersonality, the qualities which are the personality traits required for this exam. So you should have that attitudinal relevance aspect. So that kind of relevance has to be considered for addressing any kind of question. So if your answer is relevant, 30% of your scores are saved, because this is the soul of the answer. If your answers are saved, if your answer is having relevance component holistically, introduction, conclusion and content, you may not be having content competency in terms of examples, number of dimensions and testimonials or case studies or any illustration or graphical representation or flowchart presentation, anything. If you are lacking all those aspects, still your answer is relevant with respect to theme in terms of introduction, conclusion, content, and also the attitudinal aspect. At least you are safe in terms of 25 to 30% of scores. You are safe in those lines. Next, coming to after this relevance part, you will have the content aspect. So the content is required to address most number of prioritized areas of this question. Here the factors, definitely you should address historical factor, isn't it? And next, constitutional, Article 371C, okay, for Kuki tribes, and also for the Northeastern, and also issues of administrative issues. Okay, OFSPA, very good. OFSPA. Okay. So this is next, customary practices and social factors. Okay, geographical factors, because in the hilly region around 90% of the land is occupied by hilly region, and that is inhabited by Kuki tribes. So such geographical aspect, geographical factor, yes, and political factors, because delimitation commission was formed in 1973, and again the delimitation commission has come into picture in 2020. That delimitation commission hasn't addressed the grievances of Kuki Naga tribes likewise, because their population was increased to around 40%. Their population was increased to about 40%, but still they did not get sufficient representation. That was their grievance. So that is a political factor. Political factor means BJP has done this and done this. This is one of the worst governments, and Rahul Gandhi will definitely solve all the problems. That is not the answer. You don't have any kind of ideological or political affiliation there. Okay. So the very simple addressing of the question is, you need to confine the objective elements, that is delimitation commission, and the historical aspects, that is the Kuki, it had colonial origin. Okay, and also the OFSPA aspect, that is part of administrative factors, and political factors, that is as you have said, delimitation. Next, customary practices, which were encroached into the customary practices were disrupted due to encroachment of outsiders into these Kuki inhabited regions. And also the demand of Metis to get the scheduled tribe status, that is the major aspect. They have conducted a march against such protest, that means against the status of scheduled tribes to Metis, and Kukis conducted such a march, and it led to a violent conflict between these two groups. So that the introduction should be thematic, means introduction should address definitely the factors associated with the Manipur. So definitely your introduction should contain the associated factor to generate such a flow from introduction to body. If you don't generate a flow, example I have mentioned about NPS factor. If you have written anything regarding completely NPS something else, but there is no use of that question, that answer, if you don't mention the bad banks initially. If you don't mention the sculptures of IBC initially, there is no point in writing entire IBC there, the history of IBC and their period of time something else. So you need to address actual theme, then only you can put a heading, a subheading or main heading after core theme of the question. If I address the march that was led against a certain section of the society, which led to a violent protest and sometimes a violent conflict between these two groups, therefore it is inevitably generating a flow to the main body of the question, isn't it? If I write about Manipur is a beautiful place and people of Manipur are beautiful, okay, Manipur has beautiful nature, something else, there is no point in writing such, even people are writing like that. So, because they want to prove they are very generous people. See, inherently you are not a bad guy, you are generous, but you need to address the issue objectively there. Okay, I don't want any kind of exaggeration or kind of degradation of any society or culture there, because that was not the demand of the question. The demand of the question is simple, that is, you need to address major factor which led to a kind of unrest in the Manipur. The factor is very simple. That is why next go to this model answer now. This is very easy. The answer has contained the introduction. Is very clear. It is violent clashes broke out in the northeastern state of Manipur after tribal solidarity march, which was organized in hilly districts that protested against Metis community's demand for scheduled tribe status, leading to the death of at least 54 people. So this was a situation, a factor that created unrest in Manipur, isn't it? So if you have written such kind of introduction, it is directly hitting the major point and thematic in nature, and you can come to introduction, main body of the question there. Next, the issues are, the factors are, again I have said about the status of ST, that is our that was proposed to Metis community, and the violent protest erupted over the eviction of residents of QEEWI from their villages, and also and you no need to mention those villages, but major areas is about 371C. 371C protects the residents of QEEWis in terms of their land titles and various customary practices too. And again, state level hill area committee was constituted, and such hill area committee was not addressing the grievances of Manipur people, and delimitation commission was formed in 1973. After 1973, the delimitation commission was formed in 2020, which did not create any hope for those people to give sufficient representation in legislative assemblies, isn't it? Next, coming to solution part. How will you write solution? Because suggest some steps to be taken to address all stakeholders. Okay? So before going to solutions, I would like to give you an orientation regarding our coherent connectivity, that is establishment of connectivity between your ideas. You have a perfect idea, you have a complete understanding of the issue, but you are unable to express it properly. So you have idea and connection of, and you know how to connect between those ideas also, that is fine, but that idea may not be conveyed properly to the examiner what you expected. That is called lack of cohesiveness. So connecting between ideas is your ability to build coherence. Connecting between sentences, construction of sentence is your ability to cohesiveness. So connection of ideas and expression of ideas. Connecting ideas involves your clarity of thought. Connecting ideas involves your clarity of thought. And expressing that idea in very coherent and cohesive sentence is about your clarity of concept. Okay, that expression involves clarity of concept. So your clarity of idea, your clarity, that is thought, and expression will lead to your absolute understanding of the concept. That is called conceptual understanding. Till now you might have gone through misinterpretation or misrepresentation or misconception about this conceptual clarity. What is meant by actual conceptual clarity here? Conceptual clarity is having relevant idea that is thematic to the question, actually what question posed, and also having a proper connectivity between these ideas in thematic, coherent, cohesive sentence construction. That is called your conceptual understanding. Your conceptual understanding is about having proper ideas that is relevant to the question and expressing those ideas with alignment of the words. Okay, this is about your conceptual understanding. Next, if you go through this kind of answer there, you will witness connection of ideas. Here the idea is about what? Factors that led to unrest in Manipur. So the expression is about your sentence construction. Expression of that idea lied under construction of sentence. So both these elements justified actual factor that led to unrest in Manipur, and also it had generated a flow from introduction to the main first part of the question. Okay. So next, after addressing the factors, you need to provide solutions. The solution number 1 should be to address the identity of native people, maintain such identity and uphold their customary native practices and their demands. Also, bringing harmony, peace, restoration requires lot of democratic process, that is participation of people. So next, committee recommendations. There were many committees formed, that is Lokur committee, Bhuria committee and also high level committee which was formed in 2013 to address all grievances of various communities which were residing in Manipur region, and also repealing of AFSPA with the consent of all the sections and by addressing the security reasons also, and increase surveillance, that is to strengthen economic diplomatic ties with neighboring countries to address the issue of regional stability and security and drug trafficking menace. This is about second part of the question. Those are the suggestions, that are the steps to be taken to address all stakeholders. But also they have mentioned about restore peace and harmony in North Eastern region. That is why elaborately we have given in the conclusion part. This is not actually third part. If you go through this question, address steps to be taken. That was the question is about address steps to be taken. This is the question there. So as part of addressing the steps to be taken, such an unrest in the Manipur region, you must mention restoration of peace and harmony in the region. Definitely it is part of the conclusion of the Manipur. So it is inevitable, but examiner expected you to mention it much elaborately. Therefore, the such elaborate explanation of peace and restoration is required at the time of conclusion. Okay? This is about answer writing orientation. Please go through this answer and try to write in your own words. What were the elements that I have addressed in the answer question itself? First, thematic relevance, that means relevance with respect to introduction and conclusion, and content relevance and your attitudinal relevance. That should have impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, impersonality and also compassion towards weaker sections, empathy. These are the elements, and you should maintain your emotional intelligence while addressing it. It requires a lot of diplomatic skill. That is fine. And next aspect is your content competency, bringing various dimensions and addressing each part of the question. This is your content competency. I am providing as many examples and valid arguments and reasoning elements and testimonials, case studies as possible. Those should have a rational and logical approach. That is about your content competency. And coherence. Coherence part is about your connectivity of ideas and expression of ideas in cohesive sentence construction. That is your coherence. Next, your language competency, using relevant jargon, keywords and concise writing skill and exact and precise expression. That is your language competency. And next thing is your presentation. Presentation should have legible presentation, and sometimes you can use graphical trends and flow charts, and that should never disrupt the actual flow of the question. And you should have a uniform template, uniform letter size, uniform word to word and line to line space. It should have an appeal of professionality while writing your answer to the examiner. That is your presentation skill. If you maintain these 5 parameters and try to impart these 5 parameters for this question, okay? And also but also other questions, not only this question but also other questions, okay? Sometimes you may be more matured enough in dealing with the question. So try to impart more number of dimensions if you have sufficient content to address such kind of question. In KPIB, I will be checking all the questions and answers. One day I will spend for evaluation of any kind of question that you have written. Okay? Right. Carry. Okay. Will you write answer for this question now? Yes, good. Please try to write and try to inculcate the same theme and features for next question also. I will be posting PIB related questions today. Okay? And if you have any doubt and query, or if any kind of question is not addressed, Kenneth, send me the pic. I have been saying you, because I have been habituated with such kind of interaction with many aspirants, because if some program is going on in at Ashok Nagar, so nobody can meet me directly there. They will directly send me the pic. Sir, I have a doubt regarding this, because I want more number of dimensions for such kind of question, or any explanation for it, or some kind of error, conceptual error in it. Okay, rather than typo errors, any conceptual error in it. Okay, they will directly send me the pic. Okay, you please send me the pic. I will whenever I am free, I will check it, and also I will reply. I will do some research. If because hundreds of programs are going on, UPSC mains and UPSC long term, and this TSPSC Group 1 mains and TSPSC Group 2 grant test, regular grant test, and APPSC Group 2 screening and mains test. Likewise, and APPSC long term, something else is going. And these many programs may have different kinds of orientations. So if you send me the pic, immediately I will get an idea, I will do some research, and I will rectify by the end of the day. Okay? Good night. Because because one day I want to come one day that at 9 o'clock. How are you writing answers? Okay? Have you attended yesterday? Okay. How many marks you are getting? Actual marks, without seeing any model answer, without having any kind of hints from friends. దోస్తుల నుంచి ఏం చీటింగ్ కొట్టకుండా, కాపీ కొట్టకుండా, జెన్యూన్గా నాకు ఎన్ని మార్కులు వస్తున్నాయి చెప్పండి. నెట్ స్కోర్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ 10 7 కరెక్ట్ అయ్యి ఒకటి నెగిటివ్ మార్కింగ్కి 3 క్వశ్చన్స్ కంపెన్సేట్ చేస్తుంది కాబట్టి 60% వస్తుందా నెట్ స్కోర్? 60% నెట్ స్కోర్ వస్తుందని ఎంతమంది? 60% నెట్ స్కోర్. బిలో 60% మిగతా వల్ల బిలో 60%. సో 60% నెట్ స్కోర్ కనుక ఇప్పుడు మనకి రావడం స్టార్ట్ అయిందంటే డెఫినెట్లీ మనకి ప్రిలిమ్స్ క్లియర్ అవుతుంది. ఓకే, 60% నెట్ స్కోర్ ట్రై చేయండి, ప్రిలిమ్స్ క్లియర్ అవడం ఖాయం. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ ప్రిలిమినరీ ఎగ్జామినేషన్ ఎప్పుడు జరుగుతుంది మనకి? మే ఎండ్లో జరుగుతుంది కదా. ఓకే, దట్ మే ఎండ్ ప్రిలిమినరీ ఎగ్జామినేషన్ మీరు క్లియర్ చేసే కండిషన్కి రావాలి అంటే ఆ స్టేజ్కి మీరు అప్పుడు చేరాలంటే ఈవెన్ సీసెట్ కూడా రెగ్యులర్గా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తూ వస్తే నెట్ స్కోర్ 60% క్లియర్ అవుతుంది. రెగ్యులర్గా రావాలి, రెగ్యులర్గా అండ్ గ్రాండ్ టెస్ట్లో కూడా. అంటే మనకి 10 క్వశ్చన్స్లో 7 రైట్ అయ్యేటట్టు చూసుకోవాలి. 10లో 7 రైట్ అయితే అట్లీస్ట్ ఒకటి నెగిటివ్ మార్కింగ్, అంటే 10కి 10 అటెంప్ట్ చేయాలి. ఒక్క క్వశ్చన్ మిగతా 3 క్వశ్చన్స్ని కంపన్సేట్ చేయగలుగుతుంది కాబట్టి నెట్ 60% ఉండాలాగా టార్గెట్ పెట్టుకోవాలి. ఇది ఫస్ట్ పాయింట్. సెకండ్ పాయింట్, మెయిన్స్ ఆన్సర్స్ అనేవి రెగ్యులర్గా అట్లీస్ట్ 2 క్వశ్చన్స్కి ఆన్సర్ రాయాలి. KPIB నుంచి రాయడానికి ట్రై చేయండి, ఎందుకంటే స్టాటిక్ పోర్షన్ ఆల్రెడీ ఇక్కడ ప్రిలిమ్స్ చదువుతున్నారు కదా. KPIB నుంచి రాయడం వల్ల బెనిఫిట్ ఏంటంటే కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ కవర్ అవుతుంది, అదొకటి. దానివల్ల అడిషనల్ వర్క్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, సెకండ్ పాయింట్ ఈస్ ఓవర్. థర్డ్ పాయింట్, ఇప్పుడు ఈ ప్రెస్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ బ్యూరో ఆర్టికల్స్ అండ్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ ఆర్టికల్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా, వీటిని వీక్లీ కంపైలేషన్, మంత్లీ కంపైలేషన్ ఇస్తాను. ఈ కంపైలేషన్ ఎలా చేస్తానంటే, ఓ సిలబస్కి సంబంధించిన బ్రాడ్ టాపిక్ ఉంటుంది కదా, ఆ బ్రాడ్ టాపిక్ కింద వచ్చిన మంత్ వైజ్ ఆర్టికల్స్ అన్నీ కలిపి కంపైల్ చేసి ఇచ్చేస్తాను. అంటే ఇప్పుడు సపోజ్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఛాలెంజెస్ అనే టాపిక్ ఉంది కదా, అండ్ ఇంటర్నల్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఛాలెంజెస్ అంటే ఒక టాపిక్ అనుకుందాం. ఇంటర్నల్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఛాలెంజెస్ సంబంధించినటువంటి మొత్తం మంత్ వైజ్ ఆర్టికల్స్ అన్నీ కంపైల్ చేసి ఇచ్చేస్తాను. సపోజ్ ఆ మంత్ మొత్తంలో ఎన్ని ఆర్టికల్స్ రావచ్చు? అప్రాక్సిమేట్గా 4 ఆర్టికల్స్ 3 ఆర్టికల్స్ వస్తాయి. అలానే ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్ ఉంటుంది, ఇండియా అండ్ ఇట్స్ నేబర్హుడ్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ ఉంటుంది. ఇండియా అండ్ ఇట్స్ నేబర్హుడ్ మీద మంత్ మొత్తంలో ఎన్ని రావచ్చు ఆర్టికల్స్? ఒక 4, 5, 6 రావచ్చు, అలా అనుకుందాం. 5 ఆర్టికల్స్ వస్తాయి. అలా ఒక ఇయర్ మొత్తంలో ఎన్ని రావచ్చు? ఒక 10 మంత్స్ వేసుకుందాం, అప్రాక్సిమేట్గా 40 ఆర్టికల్స్ 50 ఆర్టికల్స్ రేషియో మధ్యలో ఉంటుంది. ఓకేనా? అంటే ఒక ఐఆర్లో ఓన్లీ ఇండియా అండ్ ఇట్స్ నేబర్హుడ్ అనే కాన్సెప్ట్ కింద మనకి 30-40 ఆర్టికల్స్ రావచ్చు. సేమ్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఛాలెంజెస్లో ప్రతి మైక్రో లెవెల్ కాంపోనెంట్ పైన ఒక 30-40 ఆర్టికల్స్ రావచ్చు. సో ఇలా పాలిటీ గవర్నెన్స్ ఇష్యూస్ పైన కూడా ఒక 30-40 ఆర్టికల్స్ రావచ్చు, ఒక్కొక్క టాపిక్ పైన. సో ఇలా మనం ప్రతి ఒక్కటి సొసైటీ ఎలిమెంట్, ఉమెన్ అసోసియేటెడ్ ఛాలెంజెస్ ఇష్యూస్ ఉంటాయి, కమ్యూనలిజం అనే ఇష్యూ ఉంటుంది, వాటి మీద ఒక 10-15 ఆర్టికల్స్ రావచ్చు ఇయర్ మొత్తంలో. అంటే ఇయర్ మొత్తంలో ఒక్కొక్క రీజనలిజం అనే టాపిక్ మీద ఒక 10 ఆర్టికల్స్, కమ్యూనలిజం ఆర్టికల్ మీద ఒక 10 ఆర్టికల్స్, అదే టాపిక్ పైన. ఇలా ఒక్కొక్క మైక్రో సిలబస్ కాంపోనెంట్ పైన 10 ఆర్టికల్స్ ఉన్నాయనుకోండి, అప్పుడు మీకు ఏమవుతుంది? ఇక సిలబస్కి సంబంధించిన అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ఉన్నట్టేగా, ప్రతి మెయిన్స్కి రిలేటెడ్ అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ కరెంట్ అఫైర్స్ నుంచి ఉన్నట్టే. ఇంకా ప్రిలిమ్స్ ఏమో ఇలా రెగ్యులర్గా ప్రాక్టీస్ చేస్తారు. అంటే మెయిన్స్కి సంబంధించిన అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, వాటిని మనం చిన్న చిన్న బుక్స్గా పెట్టుకోవాలి. అంటే మీకు ఎక్కడ ఇండియా మొత్తంలో ఎతికినా అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ రిలేషన్స్కి దొరకదు, స్టాటిక్ బుక్స్ దొరుకుతాయి తప్ప, సెక్యూరిటీ ఛాలెంజెస్ దొరకదు, డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ దొరకదు, అండ్ గవర్నెన్స్ సోషల్ జస్టిస్కి దొరకవు, ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ దొరకదు. అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ఇండియా మొత్తంలో ఎదుకంటే ఎక్కడైనా దొరుకుతుందా? ఎవరికి వాళ్ళే నోట్స్ ప్రిపేర్ చేసుకుంటారు. బట్ ఇప్పుడు ఆ ప్రాబ్లం లేదు. ఏం చేస్తున్నా నేను ఇక అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ప్రతి ఒక్క మైక్రో సిలబస్ టాపిక్ మీద ఇచ్చేస్తాను ఇన్ ద ఫార్మ్ ఆఫ్ కాంటెంపరీ ఇష్యూస్. అప్పుడు మీ దగ్గర ఆల్రెడీ స్టాటిక్ కంపోనెంట్ ఉంది కదా, మీకు ఆల్రెడీ తెలుసు కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఆఫ్ కమ్యూనలిజం తెలుసు, రీజనలిజం తెలుసు, సెక్యులరిజం తెలుసు. సపోజ్ సేలియన్ ఫీచర్స్ ఆఫ్ ఇండియన్ సొసైటీ, డైవర్సిటీ ఆఫ్ ఇండియా అంటే ఏంటో చెప్తారు, అండ్ ఉమెన్ అసోసియేటెడ్ ఇష్యూస్ అండ్ ఆర్గనైజేషన్స్ ఛాలెంజెస్ అన్నీ చెప్పగలుగుతారు. ఆర్గనైజేషన్ అసోసియేటెడ్ ఇష్యూస్ ఛాలెంజెస్ అంటే బేసిక్స్ ఉన్నాయి మీ దగ్గర. బట్ వాట్ ఈస్ కాంట్రిబ్యూటింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ KPIB ఈస్ what is contributed from KPIB is for each component of syllabus you will be having number of articles which have come in the last 1 year. నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ మళ్ళీ ఇలానే సైకిల్ కంటిన్యూ అవుతుంటుంది. ఈ ఇయర్ చదువుకున్నానికి ఇప్పుడు NCRB రిపోర్ట్ వచ్చింది, నేషనల్ క్రైమ్ రికార్డ్స్ బ్యూరో. నేషనల్ క్రైమ్ రికార్డ్స్ బ్యూరోలో ఈ ఇయర్ వచ్చినటువంటి డాటా నెక్స్ట్ ఇయర్ అప్డేట్ అవుతుందా లేదా? సో ఈ ఇయర్ వచ్చి ఉమెన్ రిలేటెడ్ మనకి ఇష్యూస్ ఏమున్నాయి, అందులో క్రైమ్ అగేన్స్ట్ ఉమెన్ అనేది మనం తీసుకున్నాం, NCRB డేటా వచ్చింది. ఓకే, ఆ NCRB డేటాలో క్రైమ్ అగేన్స్ట్ ఉమెన్ ఈ ఇయర్ వచ్చినటువంటి ఆర్టికల్స్ సేమ్ అలానే ఉన్న డేటా మాత్రం అప్డేట్ అవుతుంటుంది ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్ ఈ ఆర్టికల్స్ నుంచి. సో అలా మీకు మీ అటెంప్ట్ ఇచ్చే వరకు అప్డేటెడ్ నోట్స్ ఉంటుంది ఎవ్రీ ఇయర్.